Hi guys, I need to talk to you about something that can probably help you guys also. I have this model and it has like an internal section and it comes to a floor and then it's supposed to have um, interface layers and then petg coming on top. So the interface layers are PLA and then you have petg at the top. And what I noticed at first was that the petg didn't adhere well enough to the PLA. And normally I use 0 here for interface layer Z distance. And I didn't notice until just now that I have it set to 0.02. Probably so I should be able to remove it easier. But doing that, I discovered something else. So when I slice this in this current way, give me a second, I'll show you. I noticed that you have the black PLA and then you have the first layer after the interface layer. Now this one is set to print as what do you call it? Strength monotonic line or similar like that. But the reason it shows like this as a monotonic line is because I have set the Z distance to be above the other distance, because the last layer of your support interface as well as the first layer of the part that you are supporting, you control that pattern, both of those, with the interface pattern for the supports. And the reason I deducted this is because I tried to set the top Z distance to 0, which means that the first layer after the support interface should be immediately after the support interface. There should be no gap. Now notice what happens. So this here I have sliced it with a spacing between the two layers. So in the two layers in actuality do not have a physical contact, if you can see it like that. If you print, it will get a physical contact because you squish the line, but in the slicer it doesn't really have it. So the slicer don't actually realize this. So the slicer here thinks that what you are printing is a bridge over an unsupported area. So if you go here and you go to, let's see, where is the bridges strength? Is that or? So here you can rotate the internal bridge infill direction, stuff like that, but you cannot set the pattern itself, because a bridge is something that prints over something that doesn't have a supported interface. But if I go back and notice this is sliced as it is with this setting, I only set the Z distance to 0. So there is no spacing between them at all. And now, in addition to the last layer of the interface layer, the first layer of the part itself will also be concentric. So when I slice it now, you will see that everything changes for the very first layer after the interface layer. And the only thing I changed here was that distance. So it literally comes next in line. So here you can see that it has now got a concentric printed surface on the first layer after the interface layer. And what's more interesting now is also that if I go to the filament up here and I select to show speed, then the speed is totally changed to 32 mms for this, which is basically roughly what you have for interfaces or just what I'm printing the overhangs with. Now if I changes this with 0 and I changes this to back to what it was, 0.02, and I slice it again, and I'm going to show you the speeds, then you will notice that it breaks up the speeds of the interface layers. So here you can see that it uses the linear one, and I select speed, and you can see that it prints the yellow sections here at around 50 mms. and it prints the blue ones at around 3. And that makes a real big difference when it comes to cooling time and stuff like that. So the petg I'm using, it doesn't like to be printed faster than around 40. So when I try to print this at 50, it starts to lose adhesion. So that's where I had my problem. But you can control this to a certain extent. So when you go to, let me see, I think it was speed, and then you go to your overhang. Now the first layer after your interface layer is equivalent to what's called the external overhang speed. So if I set this to around 10, then you will see that and slice it again, and you will see that the print time used becomes equal. So select speed again, and you will see you get an equal time here of around 3 millimeters per second. And this would make a much smoother surface because you don't have the difference in temperature, because everything will be printed with the same speed instead of going and then goes. So two things from this that I discovered is that the option to change speed for the first layer after the interface layer is in the speed, and then overhang speed, and then external. That one controls the speed of the first layer after an interface layer, among other things. The other thing I noticed is, of course, as I showed you earlier, when I leave it at like that and print it slow, then let's see, I'll just revert back to that one, and I go back to here, and then I'll set this to 0 because I don't want the distance between them. I want it perfectly smooth. There, slice it. Now it should show concentric on the other one as well. Because I have the circles, the concentric look kind of weird, but that's actually a good thing because it will make for a good adhesion. I think I haven't tested it yet. But if I now go and let's inspect the speed. So now you see the speed is around 30 millimeters per second, and it's because it's printing technically above the interface layer, and that's kind of fast for petg. It's like almost full speed that I wanted to print with. But then you can go and it will no longer, if my theory is correct, it will no longer adjust that speed if I go here and I slice it all, because it's no longer considered a bridge in the same way. Speed, you see, it's not even registering the change here. So if you want to change the speed of the first layer after the interface layer, then you have to set the support to 0. No, you need to have a distance between the supports. So I can set it to 0.1, for instance. It doesn't have to be 0.2. There, now you see you have straight lines. And then the speed will be like this. And now the speed here is also adjusted to 10. So now you can, since you have a theoretical distance between the last interface layer and the first layer of the part itself, then you can control the speed of that layer. But in my case it looks awful because I have 4 or 5 circles here where I'm gonna put magnets and stuff. So I don't recommend using it for an example like this. In that case I would actually go and I would set the support to 0. And let's see. So now everything will be concentric, and the speed will be set to roughly 30. Now let's see which one of these is actually controlling the speed. So around 30, that would probably be maybe this overhang speed 50%. That's around 30. Let's see if I change that to 10 just to test, and I'll slice it. See, did that change anything? It did not change it, so it's not that value. Do I have anything? I do have these two, first layer and first layer infill. Let's try the first layer infill first, because maybe it, since you have it exactly on the, since I removed the distance here on this, maybe under speed here it will now see it as a first layer infill. Let's test that and see. So if I set that to 10 now instead of 30, if it is correct that it now sees that as a first layer infill, then that speed should have been reduced to 10. So now it shows it as 10 or 12 instead of 30. And that is kind of interesting, because it means you have the first layer after the interface layer. You have two places to change that, depending on if you want to have a distance from the interface layer or if you want to have it smack down on the interface layer. Then it's two different ones. So basically you have, if you have a distance, then you need to adjust the external under speed, overhang, and external. Then you need to change that. If you have zero distance, then you need to change the speed and first layer infill to control the speed of that layer. So that is kind of interesting, because it can have a lot to say of the adhesion of the petg after you print the PLA. Now there is another thing. If you print PLA too hot, it gets glossy or shiny, and how should I say it? It becomes smoother, and then you may have to compensate with lines in between, or like distance in the interface layer, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would just go down in temperature so it becomes more rough if you want when you print it. So you keep it at zero distance in the interface layer, and you just print it a little bit cooler, so the lines don't flow so much sideways, because when you print the petg, it will actually adhere to the micro gaps in the other filament. I hope that was helpful for you guys, and if you like these kind of videos, please leave a like and a sub, and send me a comment. I read everything, and I hope to hear from you guys, and I hope you like my video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.